Hey everyone, I'm Mr. Meta. What if someone lazier than Homer Simpson tried to learn a foreign language in just 6 months? Impossible? I don't think so. Watch this video till the end and you will be able to do it too. I'm glad. We can sit down today and discuss such an interesting topic as learning a foreign language. If you have been putting off learning a language, welcome. I will tell you what you need to do to learn any language in 6 months, even if you have tried before and failed. My laziness can be compared to Homer from The Simpsons, while my knowledge and love for learning are more like Bart's. Yet, by following simple rules, I have managed to reach a basic level and can now chat with you. By the end of this video, those who follow all my advice will definitely be able to learn any foreign language in 6 months. Or maybe not. Alright, seriously, learning foreign language isn't easy. But it's incredibly interesting. I have been learning English for 6 months now, and as you can hear, while it's not super easy, I have enough knowledge for basic communication. Language learning was never my thing, but 6 months ago I started working at the Russian equivalent of Amazon and honestly had way too much free time. So I decided to give language learning another shot. Spoiler, if you are doing this for fun, learning becomes a really enjoyable. Unfortunately, many people nowadays think there is no need to learn languages because of online translators. But that's just not true. First, knowing a foreign language lets you watch movies and read literature in it. Second, communicating with native speakers without relying on translators is incredibly useful for building a friendly atmosphere. For me, it's a hobby. For others, it might be work. But no matter the goal, it grows. Those who have ever learned a language or are in the process will understand what I mean. Your brain is constantly working and you quickly start feeling more productive and frankly smarter. This is especially helpful for people who like to invent psychological disorders to justify their laziness and unwillingness to move forward. Just learning something at your own pace and enjoy the process. On this channel, I will play games with you, share how I'm learning English, and show my progress. I'd love to go through this exciting journey with you guys. Now let's talk about how I'm learning English. First, I started with Duolingo. Yeah, a lot of people hate this app, but honestly I'd compare it to train wheels on a bike. Perfect for absolutely beginners. If all you know is the alphabet, it's a fantastic tool. Unfortunately, Duolingo won't teach you grammar rules, but it helps you make associations, see example sentence, and gradually grasp the basic through intuition. School teachers often don't realize, or maybe refuse to realize, how important it is to teach kids to navigate a foreign language by feel. This skill prevents you from freezing up in conversation when you miss or don't understand something. The second most important thing is vocabulary. Let's be real, with 1000 words you can basically say, I want to buy bread. But you won't be able to have a proper conversation about deeper topics. Even though this method isn't considered the best nowadays, I prefer memorizing 30 new words a day while constantly reviewing old ones. Personally, I use the Reword app for drilling vocabulary. This way, in 6 months, I have built up enough words to speak comfortably. Listening practice is another crucial part of language learning. To get used to foreign speech, I listen to English music every day. I especially love the rapper Eminem. I adore all his tracks, even though they are often hard to understand at first. That's what makes listening to them so useful. After tackling his music, understanding speech in movies or shows becomes much easier. You will often have to listen to the same text 100 times, checking the translation and trying to grasp the context. But this is exactly what trains your ears to understand not just clear foreign speech, but also different accents. By the way, movies and TV shows are super helpful too. Maybe you have already guessed, but The Simpsons is one of my favorite shows. Words can't describe how happy I was when I could finally watch it in the original dub. Not just watch it, but actually understand it pretty well. Of course, you can use subtitles at first, but I wouldn't recommend it. Our brains naturally take the easier path. If you watch something with foreign audio but subtitles in your native language, you might not even hear the original speech. If you choose foreign audio with foreign subtitles, the movie turns into a book. You will read more than watch. While that can be useful, it's a completely different skill. That said, if your vocabulary is teeny, watching without subtitles can be really tough. Speaking practice. If you thought everything I mentioned so far was enough, sorry, but no. All your knowledge is useless if you don't learn to use it daily. For me, this entire channel is one big speaking practice. Before I tried talking to real people more, you can use HelloTalk for that. I still love this app because it helps me find people to chat with. But recently I discovered a new interesting method, improving my speech through streaming. Here's an important note. The first mistake beginners make is translating sentences from their native language into the foreign one while speaking. This is a huge problem. You need to learn to speak and think in the foreign language, not just act as a translator. To do this, you should use foreign language while doing something else equally challenging. For me, that's streaming games. You can just play your favorite game and comment on your actions as best as you can. First, it helps break the language barrier and the fear of speaking in a foreign language. Second, because you're focusing on the game, you won't have time to recall translations in your native language. Your speech will be natural, even if sometimes or maybe even often incorrect. Gradually, speaking and thinking in the foreign language will become a habit. Remember, don't wait until you can speak without mistakes. You are learning. You're supposed to make mistakes, correct them, and make them again. Think of language as waves. Sometimes you rise, sometimes you fall. It doesn't matter. What's worse is if your fear of making mistakes is so strong that you never start speaking at all. Reading. No matter what anyone says, reading is important too. Start small, with children's book from the country whose language you are learning. Begin with a couple of pages a day, trying to understand what's happening without translating every unfamiliar word. Read one page, translate it, and look up words you didn't remember. Write them down and each time they recur. It will be easier to recall their meaning. What do I do after practice? If you thought practice alone was enough, no. After all the practical exercise, the next crucial step is writing. Yes, recording even your intermediate results is incredibly important. Write a short essay about what game you played today, how it went, or any interesting events. Describe a passage from the book you read, trying to use as many new words as possible, once you learned it today or recently. This exercise helps you remember the material better and prepares you to use it in speech. Always push yourself to use more new words and grammar rules. Make sure your speech doesn't become repetitive. Remember, your brain will try to express things as simply and briefly as possible. That's a normal and even useful function for native speakers. But you are learning. You need to do the opposite and enrich your speech. Grammar. A whole separate topic. How do you learn it? Where? Why? If you look online, you will quickly see people fall into two main camps. The first group drills grammar inside out, trying to understand every rule and follow them strictly. The second group claims they learned the language just fine without studying grammar, relying only on feel and experience. The truth lies somewhere in the middle. Yes, you can skip grammar. Little kids don't know the rules when they start school. Yet, they communicate just fine. But they grew up surrounded by the language, with everyone correcting them, and all their media was in their native tongue. For them, every waking hour was practice. On the other hand, if you only study grammar, doing exercise over and over without practicing actual speaking, you will struggle to communicate fluently, especially in real-time conversation. I spend 1 hour a day on grammar exercises, focusing mainly on English tenses and how to use them in real life. I try to practice recent topics more, so they become clearer, simpler, and most importantly, automatic. Think about it. How often do you think about grammar rules when speaking your native language? Almost never. And that's exactly the results I'm aiming for in a foreign language. If you wanna keep watching me struggle, make mistakes, get angry, laugh, and cheer, hit subscribe, ring the bell, and join my stream. On this channel, I will regularly share my English learning process, play and discuss games, talk about shows, and maybe even show a couple of cooking recipes. Thanks for watching, guys. Learn with fun and purpose.